A visit to another planet, looking 5 years into the future. On March 6th, 2024, I had a lucid, futuristic dream. I say futuristic because, for one, that's exactly how it felt energetically. And secondly, my husband and 2 children were with me, and they were approximately 3 to 5 years older than they are today. Here, then, is a peek into what I dearly hope will someday come to pass in our near future. I found myself standing with my husband and 2 adult children on a totally different planet. We had traveled there interdimensionally to visit as a vacation together. The first thing I noticed, and couldn't peel my eyes away from, was the fact that the sky had a cluster of planets or moons in orbit around it. There were at least 6 or 8 that I could see, some overlapping each other slightly and of somewhat varying sizes. They were all perfectly round like our moon, but about half the size. They also had slightly different color shades of lavenders and blues. It was breathtaking. We then found ourselves in a guest house. This was a type of home provided for visitors only, so that they had comfortable accommodations while staying on this planet. I immediately began to investigate our temporary home to make sure we had everything we needed. The entire inside of the house appeared to be a brilliant white. Nothing had any color, but I was relieved to see shapes of places to sit, like a couch and several lounge chairs in the main living area. These items were seamlessly one with the house, in that you could not tell where the floor ended and the furniture began. There were no sharp corners anywhere. Everything looked like it was a part of the entire house and had the color and texture of a white marshmallow. There was also a type of kitchen with a countertop and sink, though I could see no means to turn on the water. I began to look around further and found sleeping areas where there were vague white shapes of beds, and again was relieved that some things remained at least somewhat familiar. Then I found the bathroom. There was a sink, where again I could see no way to turn on the water. Then I found what closely resembled a toilet. It even had a back to it, but it was completely solid with no buttons or levers to flush. I could see where a person was expected to sit and evacuate themselves, but the basin had only a small hole at the bottom, barely bigger than an inch in diameter. It didn't seem big enough to allow solid waste to pass through, and contained no water. I decided to test it, since I felt the urge to relieve myself of both liquid and solid waste. So I sat on it and went. Then, to my anxiety, I realized I didn't see any toilet paper. I began to panic and wondered if I had guessed wrong about the purpose of this device. Then, just as I was about to call for help, a blue light scanned my bottom from inside the toilet, moving from back to front, then from front to back. I was instantly clean. I felt nothing, but knew this light had completely cleaned and sanitized anything on my bottom that wasn't supposed to be there. I stood up and looked inside the toilet. There was all my excrement, and just as I had worried, nothing had gone down the little hole. I began to look for some sort of way to flush, when a lid came across the sitting area from left to right, closing the top. After a few seconds, it slid open again, and the toilet was as clean as though I had never used it. I suspected that the same technology that cleaned me had also incinerated everything in the bowl as well. Next, I looked around for a place to bathe. In the far corner, I saw a space that looked like a large shower area. There was an obvious shower head on the wall, but it appeared that this was only a 3-walled shower. The front was wide open to the rest of the room. This didn't feel very private to me, so I went inside it to look for a door and the means to turn it on. I found nothing but more white walls. Then my daughter entered the room and asked what I was doing. I told her I couldn't figure out how to turn on the shower or close the door to it. As I said this, I had already exited the shower, and my daughter then entered it. Just as she did, the whole opening to the shower darkened. Surprised and a bit alarmed, I called out to her, "Honey, are you all right? Can you see out?" "Yes," she replied. "Why?" "Because the whole opening to the shower just darkened when you went in, and now I can't see you at all. So the door must be a type of hologram," I replied. "Interesting," she exclaimed, "because I can see you plain as day. Nothing changed from the inside. Cool." I then decided I'd like to try to use the shower. So I got undressed and entered it, and immediately it began to spray a gentle waterfall of water down onto me. It seemed to have a sensor that knew I wasn't wearing any clothing and that I was ready to actually use it. I wanted the water temperature a bit warmer, but again found no controls or buttons, so I started trying different approaches to this technology. I first tried clapping my hands, thinking that might work. Nope. Then I tried speaking aloud. "House, warmer water, please." That didn't work either. Next, I placed my fingertips on the wall, searching for some sort of buttons or controls, and thought, "I sure would like warmer water, please." And that worked. I merely had to touch anywhere on the shower wall, and it could read my mind through my fingertips. I not only could control the temperature this way, but the force and amount of the water as well. After this, we decided to investigate the town, which was nestled in the valley below. Our guest house was set high on a ridge, overlooking a verdant valley set in the cradle of a mountain range. All I could remember from this excursion was a set of repeated frustrations. It seemed we had difficulty accomplishing even basic navigation. We were unfamiliar with the customs, technology, and the ways of the local people. Time and again, we would be bumbling with something, and I'd ask someone to please explain things to us, and they'd simply say, "How can you not know this? It's basic knowledge." And I'd have to explain over and over again that we were from another planet and had traveled there interdimensionally to visit. They would then simply nod their heads in understanding and say, "Oh, that explains it," and be on their merry way. We were feeling some disappointment by this time. It was going to take a while for us to learn everything on our own, just to be able to get around to do simple things, much less sightsee and explore. I also had concerns about the safety of some of the local flora and fauna I didn't understand yet. My biggest concern were the little energy vortexes that popped up from the ground randomly. These were only about a foot across and came up to our knees in height. They varied in color, everything from deep purples and blues to pastels, white, gold, and silver. They sparkled with energy, swirling towards us slowly and gently, zigzagging like tiny tornadoes, ending after a few moments by simply dispersing into the air. We were always able to quietly dodge away without much effort, avoiding contact with them. I didn't want us to touch them until we knew what they were, lest we somehow injure or kill ourselves by something that was common knowledge to avoid by the locals. It was now evening, and my family and I were walking through a lovely park, heading back to our guest house. I turned to my husband and said, "It's going to take most of our stay here to learn the customs and technology. We're going to waste so much time on that when we could be out exploring the rest of the planet. Just look at those waterfalls in the distance. We need to make a friend. We need someone to help us get past the culture and technology barriers quickly so we can settle in and enjoy this place fully." "Well, honey," my husband replied, "making friends is your specialty. I'll leave that to you." At that moment, I saw a man walking down the path towards us. He appeared to be old, with white hair and a short beard. He was wearing blue bib overalls, like a farmer would wear, but they were made of a much softer material. His face was kind, and he was considerably shorter than me, with the top of his head reaching only up to my shoulder. He reminded me of a dear, sweet leprechaun. However, there was one remarkable thing. He was walking with a huge fish, about the length of an arm, floating in front of him. It lay there as though it was set on a table, but I could see nothing but air around it. moving that fish through thin air like that?" I asked him as we passed. He looked at me and chuckled, like I was a child asking an obvious question every adult knew the answer to, then replied, "I'm using my anti-gravity device. How do you not know about this? You must not be from here." "Yes," I sighed. "We're from another planet and traveled here interdimensionally as a vacation. We don't know anything and we need help. We're looking for someone to explain the basics of navigating this world so we can enjoy it. We'd be willing to help that person in any way we can in exchange for their help. We're here for 30 days, so there's plenty of time to assist with projects or any other work that you'd need done." The man paused at this offer, then said, "I'd be happy to teach you about my world." "Great," I exclaimed. "What can we do for you in return?" "I don't need help with anything, but I would like to stay with you in the guest house for about 3 days. Those homes are amazing, and if you don't know the technology, you're really missing out on a lot of the fun they provide. I'll stay with you for a few days, help you get acclimated, show you around town and how to use your home. It will bring me a lot of entertainment and joy to see my world through your fresh eyes. It's been a long time since I've come across people who know absolutely nothing about my world." "Speaking of," I interjected, "I was wondering about these energy vortexes that keep popping up randomly everywhere. What are they?" I asked. "Are they safe to touch? They seem to keep coming towards us and are increasing in number as the day goes on." "Those," he replied, "are very good for you. They are healthy to touch, and you should welcome them. They are gifts from the planet herself. She is greeting you, knowing you are foreigners to her body. She is extending gifts of her love and light. The more you accept them and allow these energies to infuse with your own energy, the less they will appear. It is a great honor to see and connect with them. The planet is merely welcoming you and getting to know who you are." With those words, a bright pink energy vortex popped out of the ground nearby and came twisting towards me. I let it hit my legs, and my body was infused with a gentle love and a sense of welcome and joy. I felt the harmlessness and kindness of the planet and returned like feelings of my own toward her, plus gratitude for her hospitality. The next thing I knew, we were all back at our guest house. The first thing the man showed us was that we could change the color of the white walls to anything we wanted just by touching them and thinking what we wanted to see. The same was true for the furniture. Our home was instantly transformed as the kids excitedly began experimenting with colors, landscapes, pictures of animals, even asking the walls to become completely transparent so we could see outside, yet no one could see in. "This is only the beginning," the man told us. "The house itself is covered in a type of semi-sentient skin. It's alive. That's how it can read your thoughts and accommodate your needs. There's so much more than this basic technology. Tomorrow will be a tremendous day for you. I'm looking forward to experiencing it with you. And after 3 days or so, if you still need any further help, my own home is not far down the hillside. You can just tell your house to contact mine and I'll get your message." I was beyond excited to find out what the next day would bring. But at that moment, my dream ended and I woke in my bed. I was left with strong feelings of yearning for this dream to be true, and I had a deep feeling it might be. Rarely do I have such a powerful, interactive, clear, and detailed lucid dream. My experience of it was real on every level of physical and emotional sensation. I guess all we can do is wait and see what the next 3 to 5 years holds for humanity, because the impression I got was that such vacations were not unique to my family alone. All of humanity is about to undergo a dramatic transformation, and these experiences and more will be open equally to one and all.